Hi guys, just thought I'd throw some videos onto YouTube. This being Kerbal Space Program. This is one of my favourite games at the moment. I can find myself up to 3-4 in the morning playing this. So I wouldn't even call it a space sim. It's more of a space program sim. It's all about building your rockets, designing them, and then you have to fly them to orbit and to the Mun, which is the little moon that's orbiting. Then you've also got Kerbal in the background with some Kerbals floating about in their spacesuits. And I'd just like to show you this game and what it's all about. What I'll do is I'll play a sandbox, because the actual career mode can take quite some time to actually get it going. I'll show you why in a minute. So we'll let this start. Yeah, we can overwrite that. Yes, because I did a previous video, but the sound in my recording didn't work, which was a bit absolutely useless. But it's all a learning experience. I've never recorded on the PC much before, especially not one for YouTube, and not one when I've actually been speaking through the gameplay. Usually I just add a voiceover to it later. So I am live, so any hums and haws I make, if I accidentally burp into the microphone, I do apologise. I will try my best not to. I would consider playing about with Twitch and streaming live, but unfortunately my broadband at home is not the fastest. It doesn't even get a megabit upload speed. Apparently I should have a better upload speed, and I should have a better download speed than I do, but that's just the internet service provider being a twat. But I'll be phoning them tomorrow to give them a piece of my mind, because they've had their 10 days of settling in period and it's still rubbish. So anyway, I'll stop moaning and then we get back to the game, which is the most important part. So here we have our space centre. This lovely thing over here is our launch pad. We have a runway over here. We have the space plane hangar, and I'm humming and hawing already. So we also have the astronaut complex, where you find all your crazy Kerbals that will be quite happy to jump in and fly the spacecraft and rockets, or so they think. They don't realise it's all computer controlled, but shh, we don't tell them that. The research and development department, this is actually closed at the moment because we're in the sandbox game, but in the career mode, that is how you actually get your rockets and all your different bits and pieces, which I'll show you in a minute. This is the tracking centre. This shows you where everything you've launched, or where all your bits and pieces are at the moment. But we can have a look around, and this is Kerbal. It's a very lovely planet. I must remember to go to this bit here, because I'm wondering if that has a different science value to other things. Over there we have the Mun, which is the closest moon to Kerbal. It has two moons, the other one called Minmus. These are fully working planets and moons. You can fly to them, land on them, explore them. The more we zoom out, we have the solar system. You have Eve, Moho, Dres, Juno, Jewel, and Elu. Now I believe some of these planets actually have their own moons as well. and I do believe you can land in every single one. I don't know if there's maybe one that's a gas planet or something like that you can't really land on, but that's all to be explored in the game. This could end up being a series of me actually playing this game if I actually start a career mode to play about with, but what I'll generally do is start the career mode and come into it about quite a few flights into it, because it does start off very slow, that you collect all your science from the launch pad, the runway, the space centre itself, and you can get it from the shores, the water at the shore, the deep water, the highlands, the mountains. There's a lot of science to be gained on the planet Kerbal itself. But this is the most important piece that we have. This is the assembly centre. This is where all the magic happens. But these are basically all your pieces, and these are what you make your rockets and things out of. So this is basically the the pods menu. This is all the bits and pieces that will actually control the spacecraft. Now you've got different things here. We've got the Staputnik Mark 1, and then we've got the remote control guidance units. These are kind of pieces that will control your craft remotely without actually having to put a crazy Kerbal in to pilot it. Different things that you can use for making satellites and things like that, different shapes. This is the external command seat. I don't think I'd recommend you using this to launch a rocket into space as your control pod. Got different type of things, lander cans for miniature bases or just a lander. Got your command pods, it's one person, it's 3, 3, 1, 1. But it's got a lot of pieces that we can play with, so we'll do just a basic simple one just now. So we'll add the pod. What I generally do on the small craft is we'll get the coupler, pop it on, and then we'll add. So this now here is the pod to get us home. So when it's coming into the atmosphere, it will detach, the pod will come down, we can release the parachute, and it will just float safely down and land and bring our Kerbal back safely. Or Kerbal, whatever. The wee dude. So these are your stage points on the right hand side. These are what you do in stages when you press the spacebar while in flight. So at the moment nothing would happen except for if I press space, the bottom part would fire off with explosives leaving the top part. When I press space again, the chute would deploy and that would bring us down safely. But we don't want to do that. We want to get him a little bit higher, so we have lots of different types of fuel tanks. And I haven't played the actual sandbox in a while, so I've forgotten a lot of what these different fuel things stand for. No, I don't want that. Or that. When you start a sandbox game, you do actually start with a very little amount of these things. Ooh, forgot about that one. Okay, so that's a decent fuel tank. This part here is basically going to be for orbital manoeuvres. And put one of these in as well. In fact, put it the other way around. So we'll add a rocket to that. Some of the rockets here are actually rockets that I have got a mod for, which is why they're not actually in the main base game itself. But that is our initial rocket for gliding around space. These are the RCS systems. They give the same thrust, but this one here. But one won't do, and to save time, press the X key and this activates the symmetry, so we can actually build quite a few things around it at one time. So now we've done that, we'll actually use one of these things. Ooh, I like that. No, I think I'll use that. Yes, I do like those, they're quite smart. So we have these different bits and pieces here. These are the SAS modules, which do basically help control the vehicle in flight, so you don't actually end up all over the place. Not much more I can tell you. This thing here called MechJeb, this is not part of the game, this is a mod that somebody's done. It is actually really quite a handy piece of kit for different bits and pieces. It helps you learn how to fly the ship without making too many big mistakes. No, don't want that. There we go. So this will now launch that part off, but when this decouples I want it to start at the same time, so that's why we change the stages here. Structural pylon, that could be handy. Like I said, I've not played the sandbox much, so I'm kind of like a kid in a candy shop at the moment, looking at all these different bits and pieces. I've forgotten half the things that are actually here. There we go, a quad. That'll do, that'll give us some. So what have we got? I'm going to put that on there. Wow, that is a big rocket. Okay, don't want that. They're too big as well. My God, I wonder what size of fuel tank needs to go in that. Obviously not any of those. Those maybe? No. Nope. Ah, that one. And that one. Those are big fuel tanks. Okay. I do apologise, I do look about. So these aren't actually in the main game, these are actually mods as well, but because they're there I will use them. So this is going to be our basic rocket, and what I'll do is I'll launch this just to let you see what happens. So that's that. As I said, I was going to show you in the main game, but we'll go through this. So these are control devices. These help you control your craft in space. Not much use in the, like on the Kerbal atmosphere. These are your structural components, different fuselages and things. You can actually cover things up add on extra bits, all your decouplers that you can actually make stages out of. These are aerodynamics, these are the covers that you can actually put on to protect your satellite or spacecraft when you're taking off and going through the atmosphere. Unfortunately, the base game doesn't have many major effects on your ship as you take off and break through the atmosphere and things. You don't find that things fall off too much. I mean, the ship can shake itself apart. I have witnessed that quite a number of times, and my ship disintegrating because I've not secured it enough and it's just wobbled itself to pieces. But so aerodynamic parts. These are your utility parts. You've got your hitchhiker storage, which can hold 4 crew. You can make kind of a lander base using that. These are battery packs, which are quite important for certain aspects of different parts of the craft. Say if you were going to be doing some science and wanted to transmit it back, you would need a decent battery level and something to recharge the battery. Or you would send one piece of information and after that your batteries are dead. And I have seen some of my spacecraft not basically becoming lifeless in space because they have ran out of power. You do have other things here like couplers, clampatrons they call them, docking ports. These are for things if you're going to make something possibly to go to a different planet. You would have to make a massive rocket to get your full spacecraft off the ground and still have enough pieces on it to get out into the solar system to get to a different planet. So the docking ports can come in quite handy for building your craft in space by using the docking ports to connect your ship up. Also, if you can get your ship into orbit, you could just use a docking port to refuel everything, which can also be quite handy. You've also got your rover wheels here for your different bits and pieces. You've got ladders for climbing up and down, you've got lights for illumination, you've got parachutes for getting it back down, you've also got landing legs and different ladders. This one here I would say is more for aircraft than it is for the space rockets, but I have seen different people building spacecraft that will go into space and then they can actually fly into the atmosphere and actually are capable of flying and they can come into land. I'm not that advanced. Please don't expect me to be that adventurous. Although I am quite crazy with some of the things I have built and sent up. I did manage to get quite a large rover built and sent it to the moon. I landed it safely after cheating a little bit. It ran out of fuel halfway in the descent, so instead of making it crash I used the editor and turned on infinite fuel. Back to the drawing board on that one, but I'll get there eventually. I've still not quite tweaked it yet. So this is the important section. This is the science section. So you have all the different bits and pieces that you can collect. Sensor array, the mystery goo. The mobile processing lab is this massive, great big hunk of metal that can hold 2 Kerbals that do the science. Best thing it's for is to make a base with that you can send your Kerbals out, they come back to the base and they can transmit their findings. Other than that, I have built a few rockets to try and get it into space, and by the time I get in orbit I've completely run out of fuel and it can't go anywhere else. As I said before, I think docking port would be a good idea for that to refuel, but on my game, on my career mode, I've only just got the docking, so I've not quite got that yet. This is the Science Junior. It's materials and things like that. It shows what would happen to things if it was in space. These are Communitron communication devices, basically, these things that send back the data to the space centre and all the science that the scientists can pour over. You have a seismic accelerometer, basically measures seismic activity, I think. The barometer, the atmospheric pressure. We also have the Gramax nickel gravel detector. I've not seen that one yet, because I've not actually unlocked that yet. And the thermometer. So assemblies, there's things you can build, and you can drag it. Like if I took all this and dragged it in there, it would save a copy of it that I could use again on something else. Can be quite good if you have like rocket configurations that you like, and you just want to build something and stick the rocket on the bottom of it. It's perfect. So I think we'll try it like this and see what happens. What we might do is add some wings to this. Oops. I usually find this one's quite good, so because the symmetry's on, it's going to put 4 round on where I put it, but because I've got 4, I need to make 2 of them. So there we go. That should be not too bad. We might actually get into space with this one. Why not? We can add some of these things to it. I don't think I really need that many, so I'll put it back to single. So put a thermometer on there, put that on there, I'll put one of these on there, and we'll put that on there. Yeah, why not? Put materials bait in. Then we'll put some mystery glue on as well. That's just to make it more symmetric with the weight of it. So let's hope we can get into orbit for all this. So check that, fires, that. Okay, let's launch it. I do love the fact that this game is fully trial and error. The amount of times I've been out to this launch pad with a rocket and launched it and found out it's ran out of fuel. Lost countless amount of times that's happened. Okay, so now we're on the launch pad. As you can see, it's wobbling about quite a bit. Might be better putting some struts up to there, but it'll do just now. So your flight controls is your left shift and your left control is for the throttle. So left shift goes up, left control goes down. So we'll max out the throttle. Your control keys are basically like a flight sim WASD. You've also got your pitch and your roll. Well, your roll really is the Q and E. So let's say your pitch is WS, your yaw is A and D, and roll is Q and E. Now we did put some RDS on, so we can press R and activate it here. We can also, because we have the control module, we can also hit T and activate the SAS. And for all the guys who mature video gamer, there's the flag. You can see it up there. How good is that I could put that in the game? Brilliant. Okay, looks like our stages are okay. So spacebar activates the stages, so let's go. I do find that the higher that you go, the faster you're going to get as you break through the lighter atmosphere. Generally for orbit I look to get to about 10,000 and then I roll over to 90 degrees. But looking at it, I really did seem very, very loud. So I'm just going to pitch it over ever so slightly. It is fighting me quite a bit. Try and conserve the fuel a bit. We are still accelerating up. Oh, that's the fuel run out, so we hit space. It starts the other rocket up. We are losing speed as the rocket is very small and not entirely great for breaking through the atmosphere. But let me introduce you to the map. This here is our apoapsis. What I'll do, I'll click on that and that'll keep that up. This tells us how high we're going to get and how long it will take before we get to our highest point, which is the apoapsis. At the moment it's still going. The fuel's not too bad. I think I'll press X, that cuts all engines, stop it there. What we can do is add a manoeuvre. Now these little symbols control how you're going to make your manoeuvre. So the triangles are your up and down for your angle. The blue ones change the direction of the orbit, and the yellow ones do bring out the orbit itself. So that's a bit much, so let's bring that back in just a little bit. So there we go, that would put us in orbit. If we look down here, it tells us here that we will be doing this in 30 seconds and it will take us 4 minutes and 11 seconds of a burn, so I really don't think we're going to have the fuel for this. But this is trial and error, this is what the game's all about for me, and this is why I love it so much. So press the left control, puts the throttle all the way up to the max, and away we go. We move the craft to follow this little blue icon, which is the manoeuvre node. So we're doing this, and the fuel is going down. If it gets to a certain point that it's not going to quite make orbit, then we'll just burn it till the fuel runs out. As long as it will get us back, that's okay. Nah, we're never going to do this. Didn't have enough rockets on. But it's trial and error, like I said. That's what makes this game fun. But the fuel's running down and it's just not going to last at all. Plus we're already falling down, or it's never going to be enough. Let's have a little look at our craft. We'll give up. But these are your science things. You right click on them, sorry, then left click on the blue button, and it takes science. Now in the single player game, in the career mode, this will record things and actually give you science for it. As this is just the sandbox mode, it doesn't actually do it. But it's, generally they get the idea. Right click on that, left click. Crew report from Kerbal's upper atmosphere. It doesn't seem like there's any scientific value on doing this. Yeah. Glad you realise that. So basically we are now falling to Earth. All these little bits and pieces all do things. In the sandbox mode there is no point in doing them, but this is just to show the kind of thing that I have been getting up to. There's the RCS firing, try to keep it on a even keel. Oh, can't control it now. Yeah, we're slowing right down. We'll just turn this off. So let's just get rid of the heavy bottom part. And now we've just got the pod and the chute. So the chute comes out when it gets to about 500 meters. It pops out fully and slows us right down. Generally want to land about 6 meters per second, otherwise a lot of things can break. There is landing struts in the game that will tell you what kind of crash damage or what they can survive. I know there's struts that you can land at 10 meters per second and they'll land quite happily, which is definitely useful information when you want to land on the moon, the Mun, or Moonless. But Jebediah down here is more than happy with us. He's smiling away. But you do get a lot of information on the game. You do get a lot of things to play with. I do find the career mode is more satisfying when you can do the science and you're unlocking things, and you take your rocket to bits and you put the new parts on that you just unlocked and find out that they don't work the same way as other ones, and you have to redesign it all completely different, and it's basically start back from the drawing board. But I would recommend this game to anyone that's kind of like-minded and likes to do these type of things. It's entertaining. 136 hours of my gameplay should really tell me that. If I was actually married, I'm sure I'd be divorced by now by the amount of time I've spent on this game. But luckily for me, the missus, the girlfriend, does like Costa coffee, so I do bribe and get her Costa things, and I bought her I think it's a Tassimo or Senso, no, Tassimo. I got her Tassimo, and that does Costa coffee, so she's more than happy, and I'm allowed to sit and play on my games. But that's basically Kerbal Space Program. We did actually get slightly into orbit, not all the way there, but we left the atmosphere. Can't complain. And Jebediah's given us a little wave. I think we'll just recover this vessel, and I'll end my little video there. I definitely think I might do a little series on this and my adventures on the career mode. I might start it again and do some little videos of what I get up to and some of my more crazy rocket designs. I hope you've enjoyed watching, and do click the like button if you like. Click the dislike one if you don't like. I do like to see comments. I do take things into consideration. If it's just plain nasty though, don't bother. There's no point. Criticism, yeah. Nastiness, no. But thanks for watching, and take care, and I'll post again soon.